Hey everybody, Tony Gohard here, once again for Punks Doing Stuff, and today is a video that I was not planning on making. Today is a video that I really don't want to make. Today, I wanted to do a fucking fun, spooky Halloween video, but instead I'm doing this stuff. So you got jumper cables on those cars, trying to get these things straightened out. The battery on this car is dying, the battery on this one is good, but the battery is just the tip of the iceberg. Hopefully it's only the battery needs to be charged. Hopefully it's not anything else. But we've got the battery charging up right there. The alternator had gotten soaked from another issue because yesterday when we were looking down, there was fucking radiator fluid just spraying out of the stupid ass thing, and it had gotten the belt wet and some of the alternator wet. So I'm hoping that the alternator is still good and it didn't just fucking, fuck it all up with that radiator fluid. And then when we come down here, you may or may not have been able to make that out, but there is a slight trail of radiator fluid. The majority of the radiator fluid had came out in a parking lot right there next to a thrift store and a gym. So that happened. We threw some water in there, threw what left of radiator fluid we had. So we're gonna charge up this battery, see if it can get started, and see what the problem is over here. I'm guessing it could be maybe a loose hose, or it might be the water pump. I don't know yet, and we're gonna have to figure it out, but this does suck. This really fucking sets us back. If it's something major, then okay, it just cut off. I don't know if Rebecca turned it off or if it just cut off, but if it is something major, then that's really gonna fuck us up and set us way back, because we do not have the cash to do that. We'd have to get a loan to be able to get money. So yeah, it's gonna be a total pain in the ass, but we are gonna charge this up and then see if maybe we switch the batteries from one vehicle to the other. That'll keep this one running, and then we'll just have to worry about the radiator leak, the coolant dripping out. So it's just gonna be a fucking waiting game, I guess, until then. So yeah, see what happens from there. Okay, so it looks like there are two problems that are happening at the same time. One is that the water pump is going out, and that's what's explaining all of the coolant dripping out. And the other part is the battery is, basically it's just completely done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the battery from the car into the van, and then that should take care of the battery issue. And then for the water pump, I'm going to have to go and get a water pump, take it back over there, and then switch that out. They say that it doesn't come with the wheel attached, so I'm going to have to figure out a way how to separate the wheel and then put it on the other one. As far as the battery, it should just be the battery, but it also may be the alternator. So once I get that, then I'll have them do that, check that out, and then see if it brings up an engine light. It is really bright out here, which is good and bad. It's bad because it's hard for me to see, but once I'm under the van, I'll be able to see what I'm doing there without a problem. So I'm going to switch the battery, run back over there, check that, and get the water pump, and then we'll take it from there. So we have run into a bit of a problem. This battery and the previous battery have opposite terminal posts. The negative and the positive are on different sides, and they're on different parts of the battery. So that means that I'm going to have to rewire this thing the opposite way to be able to catch it the right way. But the other problem with that is that this thing is set to where it's only supposed to go on the battery from this side. So I'm putting it on this side on the opposite end, and there is a nut that I'm going to be able to loosen up, turn, maybe get this at a 90-degree angle, and hopefully be able to get that to catch the right way. So I'm going to try and get that, and it seems like no matter what, the easiest things always seem to be the hardest to get taken care of. So just run into another speed bump along the way. Try and get this, and then get back to the other stuff that I was doing. Okay, so we worked our way around the battery issue, ran the cables through the other side by the fuse box, which looks like this. It looks terrible, but it should be able to get it. Let me see if I can steady this. That should be able to get it. So we're going to do that, and then now comes the fun part. Taking apart the, not the fuel pump, the water pump. So I need to get some water actually to put inside of the radiator because that thing is already dry from running it earlier. So I'm going to get some water, throw some in there, take this back over there to the store, pick up that piece, and then take it from there. So I haven't done one of these before, so this is going to be the first time, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think I should need any help, but you never know. So we'll see how that plays out. And now comes the absolute hell part. Getting the fucking pump put on. So what you're going to do is break the bolts loose just a little bit, and then put your jack, and then take the tire off after you've already got it raised up a little bit. But you want to break the bolts loose first before you get it up in the air, because that way you don't, knock your jack over. So I'm going to do that and then get back, because I still need to take off the splash cover and all that. There, now that we've got the tire off and everything is up, you're going to make sure that you want to have a backup jack just in case anything goes wrong. You normally want to try and find a really level spot to try and do this, but this is Albuquerque, so the entire thing is nothing but fucking hills. Let's see, raise it up just a little bit more, and then get this this backup safety jack under there. Let's see, grab this, and I was looking at the splash cover, and it looks like it's got some Phillips screws in there, as well as some of the little pop-off plastic ones. So I'm gonna need to grab my drill and a Phillips tip, and then get those taken off real quick. Okay, there we go. I'll lower it down just a little bit to put some weight on that safety jack. Yeah, okay, good. So now the weight's on the two of them, and this is what I was talking about. You may or may not be able to see that, but there are Phillips screws all on that splash guard, and then there is the other part where it's just like a slip and pull. So I'm going to remove all that stuff. Alright, now that that is done, the cover is removed. Now I'm going to drain out the coolant into this thing, and then while that's doing that, I'm going to look up the diagram and see which one of these pulleys is the water pump pulley. So again, this thing is going to drain while I'm checking that out. Okay, so this tensioner is different than normal tensioners, because normally you can just put a wrench on there and break it free. But let me get this thing out and show you. This is what this tensioner looks like. You may not even see it because it's so dark, but you can use just a ratchet head and put it in there, and then that'll be able to get it. So you can use a ratchet or a breaker bar or something, and then that'll get it. So I'm going to pull the serpentine belt off, and then it looks like it's going to be hell to get those bolts out, because part of the framework is right there. So I'm going to have to get a small wrench or crescent or something and get it in there to break those bolts. Okay, finally, for fucking ever later, I finally got this thing off. I had to do it with a wrench for the majority of the part, and then I finally found my ratchet. So that made it easier to take off. This is the old one. It's completely fucked. You can see how the gasket is just ripped, and that's more than likely where the coolant was fucking spraying out of. Bad gasket. But we do have a new one, so we're not going to worry about that. And this thing comes with a lifetime warranty, so that is cool. We have the new gasket. This thing was a bitch to take off. First, you got to take off the where the hell is it? Ugh. First, you got to take off yeah, it went like that. You had to take the pulley wheel off first, which I had to use I believe it was a 1/2-inch wrench to take that off. And then once I got that off, then came the real bitch part where I had to take off all of these bolts, a total of 2, 4, 5 10 millimeter bolts. So yeah, again, that was a bitch to do because I was doing it with a wrench. And then I finally found my ratchet, which made things much easier. So that is that. Now I'm going to take this guy, put that gasket on there, throw that back in there, doing the 10 millimeter bolts first, 5 of them, and then throwing on the wheel and those bolts also, and that should be able to get it. So I am just going to have to get back down under there and then get that all taken care of. And there we go. I just put everything back in the reverse order that I took it out. Ran the engine, checked it. There's no drip coming from the water pump anymore. There's no drip coming from the bleeder. So it looks like that was what the leak was. And everything went back together just the way it should. So now it's time for me to put everything else back together because I still have the splash cover to put. The tire is right there. So now I got to do that and then mix up my antifreeze because all I threw in there was just water just to check. So I'll probably have to bleed all that out and then put antifreeze again, but that'll be something for another day. So hit the like button, subscribe, and all that stuff, and I will see you all in the next video.